Hello class, these are our geometry notes for section 3.4, parallel lines and transversals. So we worked with transversals yesterday. So transversal we know as this line here that's crossing our two other lines. But today, instead of having two just kind of random lines here that's crossing, we have parallel lines. So these marks show that our lines are parallel. So we're going to be looking at all of these different angle pairs today and how having parallel lines affects their properties. So for the first one, alternate interior angles. So if we have parallel lines, so remember that's my symbol for parallel, and I'm sorry I have a dog crying in the background because I'm ignoring him, then our alternate interior angles are congruent. So I think I wrote way too big here. I could not fit it all in. So that means, think about your alternate interior angles. That means angle 3 and angle 6. Those are alternating interior. So angle 3 is congruent to angle 6. And remember we talked yesterday about how they make that Z shape. And the other pair that we would have is angles 4 and 5. So angle 4 is congruent to angle 5. So for me, what I like to do is I like to remember that when I'm talking about interior, this is my interior. And when I say alternating, I mean one's on the opposite side. So 3 and 6 are on opposite sides. And I have 4 and 5 on opposite sides. So that's how I've always remembered it. But I think the letter shape is really working for us. So maybe we even go ahead and write a letter Z over here to remember what we did. So for the next one, I'm looking at alternating exterior angles. So if we have parallel lines, so if our lines are parallel, then our alternate exterior angles are congruent as well. And I don't know if you can hear the dog or not in the background, but again, I'm really sorry. He is very demanding right now. So that would mean my angle 1 and my angle 8, this was the V's, are congruent. And then my other pair would be angle 2 and angle 7. So next is corresponding angles, and by now you might be guessing what's going to happen. We're going to say if we have parallel lines, then our corresponding angles are congruent. So let's go through all the different corresponding angle pairs we have here. So our corresponding angles, so remember with corresponding angles, if I'm looking at this group of 4 angles and this group of 4 angles, they're like in the same spot between both of those groups. So like angle 2 is the angle that's the top right of that one, and that's going to be the same as angle 6 down here. So angle 2 would be congruent to angle 6. Let's go ahead and erase and get that out of the way. Let's see, angle 1 would be congruent to angle 5. We would have angle, let's see, angle 3 is congruent to angle 7. And then angle 4 and angle 8. So yesterday we were just picking out these pairs of angles, and now we're looking at what happens when we have parallel lines, and that's that we have a bunch of angles that are congruent. So last is same side interior angles, so this is where we're going to shake it up. It's not going to be what you're expecting. So if we have parallel lines, then same side interior are supplementary. And I'm realizing that I left out angles in here. So if we have parallel lines, then same side interior angles are supplementary. So that means adds to 180. So same side would be like angle 3 and 5. So angle 3 plus angle 5 is equal to 180. And really we should have m's on those for measure. So let's go ahead and erase and restart that. So measure of angle, let's see, what did we say? Measure of angle 3 plus measure of angle 5. And then on the opposite side, we have angles 4 and 6, and that was the letter C. So measure of angle 4 plus measure of angle 6 equals 180 degrees. So I think we left off the letters on a couple of them, so let's just scroll through here. I have C for this one, V's. I think we're just missing it in this middle one here. So let's just kind of review that. So if I'm looking at like angle 3 and angle 7, for example, they make that F shape. So on to the next page. So here we're going to go ahead and find the measure of our angle, the numbered angle. So in this first one, what we mean by that is this angle right here says 60 degrees. That's an actual measure. The other one just says 6, and that's angle 6. So we want to know the measure of angle 6. Well, I have corresponding angles here. And if I have parallel lines, my corresponding angles are congruent. So the measure of angle 6 is going to equal 60 degrees. On the next one, if I look at my angle shape, it's making a Z shape, which means I have alternating interior angles. And if I have parallel lines, and I do here, my alternating interior angles are congruent. So measure of angle 5 is going to equal 65 degrees. The next one, I have parallel lines again, and I have an angle here and an angle here. Those make V's. So I have alternating exterior angles. So if my lines are parallel, my alternating exterior angles are congruent, and so the measure of angle 9 is going to equal 90 degrees. So on the next one, when I look at my angle relationship, I have same side interior. So if I have same side interior angles, I know they add to 180. So in order to find measure of angle 6, I have to do 180 minus 130. Or sorry, just minus, I don't know where I got that. Yeah, minus 130. Correct. So that's going to be 50. So my measure of angle 6 is going to equal 50 degrees. On the next one, parallel lines again. And I have this angle right here in my angle 1. Those are vertical. So measure of angle 1 is going to be 115 degrees. And then I can see that angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary. So in order to find the measure of angle 2, I need to take 180 and subtract 115, which is 65. And so my measure of angle 2 is going to equal 65 degrees. We have something really similar for the last one. So on this one, if I look at the 75 degree angle and angle 2, those are alternating exterior. So I have parallel lines, alternating exterior angles are congruent. The measure of angle 2 is going to equal 75 degrees. And then if I look at angles 1 and 2, they are a linear pair, so I need to subtract from 180, and I get 105. And so measure of angle 1 is going to equal 105 degrees. So kind of lots of these angle puzzles today. For the next set, we are using the diagram to tell whether the angles are congruent or not congruent. If so, state the angle pair. So if it's congruent, state the angle pair means we're going to write corresponding or alternating interior or something. So angle 1 and angle 8. And I have parallel lines here. So angle 1 and angle 8 are alternating exterior. They make the V's. And so we have congruent. For the next one, angle 3 and 4. 3 is right here, 4 is right here. So those are making up a linear pair. And so they are not congruent. I'm going to write no. Linear pair. So really they add to 180. Okay, for the third one, angle 2 and angle 4. So angle 2 and angle 4 are right here next to each other. So this is going to be a no again. They are a linear pair. Number 10 is 2 and 7. So let's see. Angle 2 is right here. Angle 7 is right here. So I have alternating exterior again. And yes, our alternating exterior are congruent. For 11, I have 3 and 7. So let's see. 3 and 7 make an F shape. That's going to be corresponding. And if I have corresponding angles, I know those are congruent. And the last one, 3 and 8. So 3 is here, 8 is here. Those have no pair relationship. So our answer is no, and then no angle pair relationship. So for our last section, we're actually looking at doing a little bit of algebra here. So first we want to see what kind of relationship these two have. So here I have a Z shape. I've got alternating interior. And I know if my lines are parallel, and I do have parallel here, my alternating interior angles are congruent. So alt, interior, congruent. That means I can take x plus 35 and set it equal to 120 and solve. And so x is going to be 85. On the next one, when I look at the kind of angle pair I have a C shape. They're next to each other on one side of my transversal, so they're going to be same side interior. And I know that my same side interior are supplementary. So that means if I take x minus 2 and I add 78, I get 180. And then we'll go ahead and solve that. So negative 2 plus 78 is 76. And then my last step is to subtract. And my last step here is to subtract 76 on both sides. And so my x is equal to 104. So for our last problem, let's see, I have an angle here, and I have, let's see, well, I've got parallel lines. So if this one's 90, then this one's 90, this one's 90, this one's 90, right? They all are going to have that 90-degree relationship going on. And so I could say that 2x plus 10 is equal to 90. And then we can solve. So subtract 10. 2x is equal to 80. Divide by 2. And x is equal to 40. So lots of information today. A lot of new, I guess not really new vocabulary. We're continuing what we did yesterday. But it's a lot more complicated today. So as always, if you have questions, make sure you're asking them in class.